Well, Dax Harwood's podcast, FTR with Dax Harwood, is continuing to make news in the wrestling world. This week over comments about Vince McMahon himself. It was last week where we kind of speculated here on this show as FTR, on the FTR podcast, Dax kind of addressed what's next for FTR. They said that they've asked for time off and that they might not be back on TV before their contract is up in April. They've asked for the time off to kind of, for one, heal because they've had a fucking brutal year, but also to kind of reflect and figure out, as their contract is about to come up, what is going to be their next move. And a lot of people were starting to speculate, FTR to WWE confirmed again, And Dax didn't quite show his hand last week, but he did make the comment, I'll tell you this thing, we're not going to be disrespected by anybody, I'll tell you that. And it kind of made people speculate, is this a Young Bucks gimmick? Is this a Tony Khan not using them properly on TV? Perhaps, but I think we got more light shed on this subject that kind of points in different direction here as Dax Harwood kind of addressed. They were talking about on this week, it was FTRKO was the name of the episode. It was kind of during going over that short-lived faction where the Revival was teaming up with Randy Orton and kind of feuding with like the New Day and shit like that at that time. And in this particular clip, Dax talks about the episode where the Revival won the SmackDown Tag Team titles. And they came back to the locker room, or they came back through the curtain. They were super high on themselves. They thought they had an incredible match, an undeniable match, as FTR always has. And when they came back through the curtain, the old man was sitting there, and he had a different opinion of the Revival. Check out this clip.
We got to the back after we won the belts, and we were all proud of the match. All four of us, man. We were super happy about the match. We come to the back, and Vince is there waiting for us off his headsets. And I'm hoping that since he's off his headsets, he's going to tell us that was incredible. That was a great job. That was storytelling, right? So he come to us. He goes to New Day, and he says, hey, great job, guys. Thank you. I appreciate that. They walk off. He leaves me and Cash there. And that's when he says, everyone tells me that you guys are the next great tag team. Everyone tells me you're the next Arn and Tully. Well, that's your problem. You are the next Arn and Tully. You're just great wrestlers, that's all. And he walks off. And I'm like, this son of a bitch thinks that he just hurt my feelings by saying that. But he didn't. He made my dreams come true by telling me that we're the next Arn and Tully, that we're just a great tag team. We're just great wrestlers. He didn't like us. He wasn't enamored with us, but he didn't like us for some reason. And he made sure to tell us that day. And with
your new titles in your hands,
with our brand new belts in our hands, on a high. We're the first ever WWE Triple Crown Tag Team Champions, WWE Raw, WWE SmackDown, WWE NXT. No one else had ever done it at the time except for us. And we were so proud of that moment. And he decided to take a shit on us in that moment. And that's the kind of things as a human being I will never forget, how you try to make people feel, because the fans were with us. So obviously we didn't hurt your business. We went out there, put our life on the line for you, for your company, and coming back to the back with as much endorphins running through our body, and you decide to say that to us. That's one of the things I can't ever forget. And we talk about what I'm going to do in the future. And now that I think about that, and with him back at the helm, makes things a little questionable for me.
What a dick. What a fucking dick Vince is. We've all known this, but this is a very good shining example. Everybody likes to kiss Vince's ass and talk about the hugs he gives people and, he told me he was proud of me and all this fucking shit, But I think it needs to be noted that Vince is a fucking asshole. a lot of times as well. He's a hard man to please. He likes what he likes, and he doesn't like what he doesn't like. One thing he doesn't like is good old Southern style wrestling. He likes the sports entertainment. We all know this. And despite FTR being as good as any tag team could ever get, in my opinion, the best tag team on the planet right now, and probably was at that time too. But that's not good enough for Vince. Vince doesn't want the best tag team in the world. He doesn't give a shit what you can do inside the ring. Oh, you're the second coming of Arn and Tully? That doesn't do shit for me. Fuck those guys and fuck you guys. I want a sports entertainer. I want you with a clock around your neck and you with a fucking beanie hat on. Do it. Let's go. Let's get the gimmicks going. Let's get some characters. Let's get some personalities. And look, Vince built a whole fucking multi-billion-dollar company off of characters. You know, so I'm not saying that this is a wrong way to do it. You know, Vince understands that people want personalities that they enjoy watching on TV. They want to be entertained. And Vince feels because he's not entertained by a good match, a good fucking in-ring match. And, you know, this is something I think Bruce Pritchard has been asked before. Does Vince even like wrestling? And Bruce will be like, oh, yeah, Vince loves a good wrestling match. Fuck that. Vince doesn't give a shit about a good wrestling match. Vince cares about characters. And, you know, look, FTR they are fairly personality-less. You know what I mean? But their gimmick is that they are the best tag team wrestlers on the planet, and that's a gimmick enough for me. They've got, you know, personality enough for me. They're good old boys, tough guys. You know what I mean? That fucking promo where fight like an 8-year-old girl. You know what I mean? Like, they got it. They have everything that they need. They don't need fucking, you know, they don't need to go out and do cartwheels and fucking wear bright colors and they don't need all that shit. So when Dax talks about, I'll tell you one thing, we're not going to be disrespected by anybody. People speculated, is that AEW? Is that the Young Bucks? No. I think it's been made perfectly fucking clear here. And Dax even said that, you know, in light of the current situation with Vince coming back, that definitely does kind of, you know, make them look at their situation of free agency a little differently. The money's in WWE. That's where the money is. But Dax said on this episode that they were given up to $750,000 they were offered from WWE. Of course, they would have been cut, you know. Wasn't the Good Brothers were offered that kind of money too? You know, those in the period where WWE was handing out insane, ridiculous contracts because Tony Khan was coming around. And then once AEW was up and running for like a year, WWE just decided, fuck all these contracts. We're just going to cut all of these guys, every last one of them. Fuck them. So I think FTR probably would have been let go anyway. They wouldn't have even got that fucking money. But they were offered a very hefty paycheck to stay in WWE, and they walked away from it. So even though the biggest paycheck is in WWE, and that doesn't mean that Tony Khan can't cut a pretty fat check himself. I think we all know that, right? Chris Jericho, my boss has more money than your boss. Tony Khan's not offering peanuts, I'll tell you that much. But you know, if they're sitting back and they're looking at it, do we want to go back and end our career after all of this shit that we've done? And look, they've been kind of buried in AEW to a certain extent, and there's probably politics there with the Young Bucks. And Dax has been very PG about this and very, you know, he's being very respectful, and he's not dishing any dirt on the Young Bucks at all. Though I think we can all kind of clearly see that there's something going on there. Despite that, look at their fucking career this year. New Japan, Mexico, fucking Ring of Honor. These guys have been out there tearing it up. And they're not going to be able to do that shit in WWE. They're not going to have that free reign. And it's ultimately going to depend on, you know, the paycheck and how they're going to be treated. But I think Dax has made it pretty clear that, you know, look at the disrespect to that Vince, like, you guys are just wrestlers. I don't give a shit about you guys. You know, whatever they end up getting signed to WWE for, you think they're going to get pushed as one of the best tag teams in the world, if not the best? No. You think they're going to fucking be... It was little things even. He was talking about on this podcast, like when they were working with Randy, you know, they had this spot set up where, you know, like the three, Randy and the Revival, were all going to kind of overwhelm Kofi Kingston, you know, and work the numbers game. And Randy was very adamant that they were all seen as a faction. And Vince was like, no, we want Kofi to bump the FTR because they're a couple jobbers. And then Randy can come in and beat the shit out of Kofi. That's what I want. And Randy stubbornly pushed back against this, and Vince even more stubbornly refused. Fuck that. He just doesn't see it in FTR. So if he's coming back, and though he's not the head of creative, and Triple H is, Vince, you know, Nick Khan made it very clear in his recent interview with Bill Simmons that we covered earlier on the show in a different clip. Vince is in charge. This is Vince's fucking company. And if he wakes up one day and decides he wants to step in and have a hand in creative, he will. He's back to facilitate a sale or a media rights deal. But what happens when getting the company in sale shape or getting prepared for the next TV deal, Vince decides that this requires me changing up the product. You know, this requires me cutting some of the talent to make the balance sheet look better. Like we all speculated that day that they cut so many people a couple years ago. Or, you know, I got to step in and I got to fix this booking right now because we got a media rights deal. So we can't have guys like FTR on TV. Fuck those guys. These are the kind of things that Dax and Cash are going to have to really take a hard look at. And, you know, I kind of speculated that they'll probably take some time off, work independently, and then go back to WWE for that final run, that giant paycheck, and to retire with as much money and legacy as possible. But if it's Vince's ship and he's running it, or somebody else buys it that they don't know or trust, or Vince is kept in charge, or whatever ends up happening there with this mess that's going on with WWE, it has to give the Revival, FTR, Dax, and Cash, it has to give them pause and really make them think about what's going to be best. What's their next best move? And I don't know that it's not re-signing with AEW at this point, because at the very least, they'll be able to use that to continue to have a career in New Japan and in AAA as well. So we'll see how all that plays out. But this Vince coming back definitely shakes up the landscape again.
Let me tell you something, brother. You can check out full episodes each and every Sunday right here on this channel, dude. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget to take your vitamins and say your prayers, brother.